or minutes to Marlene. Marlene, please explain us a little bit of your expectation and the moment we are in. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Sarah. Now I'm really happy actually to be there to introduce this session, this first training session. For me, and you will remember, Sarah, we started with this idea some, I don't know, 2 years or 3 years ago, maybe. And we had a first meeting, it was very blurred. I just said, oh, I love your model of training, and I would love to have one on decentralized cooperation. And Sarah was like, yes, but what exactly? So we started really from scratch, and I really thank you, because we had no outlines at that time, and you made it happen. All the colleagues from UCLG, my colleagues also from Platforma, and in particular Sarah and Boris, they were really involved. So thank you so much for believing in this idea and make it happen. So today it's the first session of this training. It's only the beginning, I hope so, because it's the aim, no? Training for trainers. So you will be the bunch of people raising the voice and raising these trainings around the world, actually. And that's what also I liked. It's not only for European actors, it's really aimed to reach also like South-South cooperation and other innovative forms of decentralized cooperation. So we leave this traditional decentralized cooperation to really move to the innovative collaboration amongst peers. So that's really great. And so I'm quite eager. Unfortunately, I will not be able to stay at all. I have to admit, I have some meetings, but my colleagues will report back, and you are saying that it's recorded. So of course I will have a look at it. What we could see is that really there is a growing interest in the question of the localization of SDGs, of course. With UCLG, we do this survey every year now to report back to the HLPF, and we see that there is a growing interest and awareness about the agenda and how to integrate it in the municipal agendas, but also
You're muted, Marlene. Sorry.
Unmute.
Yes, someone unmuted me. That's fine. But yes, we see this growing interest through our surveys, also in integrating the international dimension into the measurement of the SDGs localization. And now we could see, and I think during the connective sessions, a connective city session, actually, that was a question, no, that often came on the participating cities were really concerned about the international dimension of the SDGs and how to find the indicators for decentralized cooperation. So what we have in mind now for the next step is in our agendas and in our heads. It's really how we can plan the next training sessions together, with whom, when, where, and how. So for us, we are renewing the SGA, so a strategic grant agreement with the European Commission. You know, you are involved, of course. So we are discussing or reflecting on how we can best integrate some sessions, some training sessions in this framework. UCLG already has in mind the training with the different regional sections, so that's very good as well. And you can count on us as well, and our soon-to-be trainers to support you in this training process. We know also that CUF, so Cités Unies France, already intends actually together with Platforma and UCLG, to operationalize the model on the ground. So together with their members active in decentralized cooperation, they would like to create a matrix and identify some indicators that will allow local and regional governments to measure and monitor their decentralized cooperation in connection with the SDGs. So that's good. People are building on what we are doing as well. So we are quite eager to see also these developments. So I stop here. I just wish you 3 intense, innovative, good days of reflection and of learning. And I wish you, yes, all the best. I think it's only the start of a new chain for the years to come, and we hope so. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marlene. And it is really nice to, I think for us, it was already a great experience of teamwork with Platforma. And we have taken up the challenge in the way also we could, because as you all know, we have now the modules, we cannot do one module after the other. But in this one, as it was long expected and the expectation is high, and I think this is also a result of the teamwork, so that you have been clear what you need and what your understanding is of innovation. We try to reflect it, but of course, as you all know, we have been looking very carefully on the consultants also. So we appreciate very much the work of Sogen Moodley in this, who has a lot of empiric experience in decentralized cooperation. And this is, of course, an interesting angle. And the whole work is a long process of learning, of digesting our own experiences, getting a little bit of the distance, because of course, as you say, Europe is a very important player, but it's not the only player. And probably this module will have also a little bit of regional, more concrete strategies, so that we can understand, for example, what is the future in Asia. We almost have been relying a lot on the work of Latin America, of Africa, which are Latin America a little bit the former playground of decentralized cooperation, Africa now, but there are also other regions and metropolis which are all contributing. And so the module, the idea of the module is not to be political, but to be technical, to look on the methodologies, to have good definitions and allow everybody to build decentralized cooperation or networking around this. So for us, this is the expectation. And with Maria Alejandra, she has been working very hard to get all these agendas fine, and that's why I'm now rushing up to not to lose time because she has prepared a very tight agenda, which is for you, because of course we always start from the understanding that we learn best when it's related to our own emotions, to our own experience, and to our own challenges. And that's what we hope to get today from you. So not only inform you, feed you, reflect with you, dialogue with you, but also relate to your experience and make you feel strong and able. So this is what you can expect. You will have a lot of outputs, skills. We also think that facilitation, of course, is a critical skill in decentralized cooperation and in networking. So we will look into this. We will also enhance existing cooperative engagements. So that's why we are here very limited with only the teams of UCLG, World Secretariat and Platforma. And I'm sure there will come up ideas, connections to rely on. And of course, it is about the transformative decentralized cooperation aligned with the operation and operationalizing the SDG, as Marlene said. So she said it is innovative, we hope so. Anyhow, this transformative element, we have been really looking into it critically also, and we hope it will be useful. Okay, now the module is in the next slide. You can see the module we have structured. Maybe you remember our launch and the idea of the bicycle. This is mainly a pedagogical ideas. So how could we, the module is very thick. It is 100-page long. I'm not sure you all had the chance to read it, but it is more or less like the 3 first modules in one. From the it has a lot of concepts which are needed, because also there was a lot of reflection, and the CIB had done a lot of policy work before coming here, before we started the module. So there was a lot of theory and concept to digest, and so we have seen that the bicycle analogy is helpful, because we of course have a roadmap which is the SDG as a really beautiful agenda for development, but then we have all the elements of the SDGs, the 5 Ps, but we also, in the decentralized cooperation, we have seen the 2 wheels, as you can see, policy and projects. And the project wheel we all know, but we have seen that one of the elements we need to care more is the policy element, because we talk about cooperation in a political environment. And this, of course, is a strength of decentralized cooperation, which we can probably project much more. You in the European work, but also everybody in the cities, because it is on all levels. The partnership is the key idea of cooperation, funding, and finally, of course, a territory, which is also the opportunity of the SDG to look at actually everything from the territory towards development. So if we go to the next slide, we briefly can see how the module is organized, and we will touch on all these chapters. So here we use a bicycle analogy, and first we will define what is decentralized cooperation and why it is meaningful to understand this territorial approach. The second chapter, why is decentralized cooperation important for local and regional governments' global policy agenda? The third chapter, how does decentralized cooperation work in practice? The fourth, how can we design decentralized cooperation in line with the SDG, a step-by-step approach? So this chapter 3, 4, and 5 are quite full, quite practical, but I think as you all have been reading through or also designing project, probably it's very fruitful to reflect on your experience here. Then the chapter 5, who are we doing with? The SDG 17. So this is what we have actually been, was a little bit the hypothesis since the beginning, that if there is one SDG really beautiful to look into, then it is the SDG 17. And as you maybe have been observing, there is a lot, always there are like fashionable SDGs. So there was SDG 11 was very important, and 5, and then the SDG 16, because of course we talk about governance, but the SDG 17 is really a breaking up, because it's about partnerships. So it's about private sector, community, and we think it is a really important SDG which we can play with. And finally, the chapter 6, who is decentralized cooperation aimed at? Communicating, reporting, monitoring, and evaluating decentralized cooperation. As Marlene said, with Platforma yesterday, we could already again prove how important it is to monitor for whom. Why do we use indicators for what? Is it enough just show to the UN a report, or so how is what actually is a reasoning of structure using the SDG for a policy structuring and narrative, and in particular towards the community. So this chapter deals with this and connects with this process. Okay, so this is a little bit of introduction, and now I would give the floor to the colleagues because we will have the first opening where we want to know you, and this is done in the format of mural. I think you all know. Thank you very much, and over to Maria Alejandra.
Thank you, Sarah. Hello, everybody. I am very happy, very excited. I'm very thankful for the opportunity of being here and also the opportunity to get to know you and to start working in this module that, as everybody said, it has been a pleasure to build and a pleasure to work in a very collaborative process. So I think my friends are showing the mural, but you already have the mural as well. You do have the connections. I hope you enter and put your names. We know that there are a lot of people from Europe, so I'm gonna be just moving around a little bit for us to see the names of the people. So as you see, there is a map here and we have the names. So I'm gonna start by myself. My name is Maria Alejandra Rico, which I'm from Bogota here. And I work as a learning officer at UCLG. So what you see in the map also is that we do have a lot of connections among each other. So I'm just gonna pass to my first connection here, and then I will ask that connection to look for other people to present themselves. So I'm gonna ask my first connection here that I see in my map, that is Fernando. So Fernando, tell us who you are.
As you said, I'm Fernando.
I know, but tell us more
No,
about
I'm
who
just
you
kidding.
are.
Just kidding. I'm Fernando. I'm from the learning department. I work with of UCLG. Work with Sara, Mariale, Juan Carlos, Valeria, Julia, and it's a pleasure to be here. I'm from São Paulo originally, from Brazil. It's a small city, very chaotic. I'm kidding, and love to be here. Thank you very much, Mariale.
So do you select somebody, or you want me to select somebody to present?
I will select Ana Tapia.
Yes.
My dear friend.
Thank you, Fernando. Good morning. I'm Ana Tapia. I'm from Valencia, so a little town from near Valencia, but I live in Barcelona. I work for Diputación de Barcelona and in the Development Cooperation Department, and that's it, I think. Thank you for inviting me.
Very good. So you name somebody?
I don't know.
You speak.
Sarah? Sarah Benz? I don't know.
Hello, so my name is Sarah Benz, and I'm SDG officer at Platforma, and I've been working with most of you, but I have not seen some faces, so I'm happy to meet the new people. I indicated that I'm from Kuwait City because if I would have added either my workplace or where my parents live, no one would have seen me because it's in the middle of Europe, so I added where I'm born and where I spent the first 5 years of my life. So it's in Kuwait in the Middle East to give some diversity to our map. And yeah, so that's good to see how many different countries are represented on our map today. And I'm going to give the floor to, I don't even see who I'm connected to, Jana, I guess, from Brussels.
Good morning, everyone. So my name is Jana. I am a project officer in CMR. I'm originally from Ukraine, so Sarah, it was a good idea not to put Brussels to be able to see everyone. So I'm originally from Ukraine, from a region called Zakarpattia, and I am now also working on the project of cooperation between the municipalities in the EU and in Ukraine. Thank you very much for inviting me to this training for trainers. I really look forward to learning from each and every one of you, and also to cooperating with you in the future. Thank you.
That's good, Jana. So who do you connect?
So the next person, I don't know who I'm connected to, but maybe Boris.
I hope everybody can hear me. As we are from a small and have very, very diverse Europe, our pins actually collide in there. So my name is Boris. I am originally from Bratislava in Slovakia, and through my whole life, if I count more than 6 months, I lived only in 3 cities, in Bratislava, in London, maybe if all my visits count together, then maybe Strasbourg altogether, and Brussels. So this is where I am. And I am at Platforma, the coordinator.
Great. So do you want to hear who after you?
Okay, I would like to hear from Julia Monroe.
Okay, Julia.
Thanks, Boris. Hi, everyone. I'm Julia Monroe. I'm from Cape Town, and I'm in the UCLG learning team, and I'm currently based in Madrid. I will hand over to Amandine.
Thanks, Julia. Hi, everyone. I'm Amandine Sabourin, and I try to put my my little pin close to the Atlantic coast in France, where I was born in Saint-Jean-d'Angély. It's a remote city, not city, sorry, not village, in between. And I live in Brussels. I'm in Platforma team as well. I'm policy and advocacy officer. And I could have put the pin somewhere else, like in Moldova or in Guadeloupe in the Caribbean, where I lived each time for 6 years, or in Morocco. I also lived there in my life. So happy to meet you all today.
Great, Amandine. So
And
after
I
you.
pass the floor to Marta Liobet. Can I?
Great, yeah.
Hello, good morning, everyone. I'm Marta Llobet. I work at the UCLG Culture Committee, and I'm from Barcelona. I work in Barcelona. And if the pandemic wasn't here, I would be working at the UCLG World Secretariat with colleagues from the learning team. But this is not the case, unfortunately. But yeah, I'm so happy, and thank you for the invitation.
Great. So after you?
Yes, I will hand over to Valeria.
Right.
Hi, everyone. I'm Valeria. I'm from Puebla, Mexico, and I'm currently based in Madrid. And I'm part of the learning team as well with Fernando, Mariale, and Julia, and Sara. And I'm really happy all you guys could join us today. And I think I'm going to pass the floor to Jama.
Right.
Hello, good morning. Also a UCLG staffer here. I am working at the Human Rights Committee of UCLG, so it is great to be with you and know each of you. I am living in Barcelona, but originally from a small city in the west of Catalonia called Lleida. I invite you to visit someday when the pandemic is over. I pass the mic to Lur Fernandez from Barranquero.
Thank you. Good morning all. So yes, my name is Lur Fernandez Salinas. I work at Platforma as the project officer in charge of development education and awareness raising, which is very much linked to Agenda 2030 and SDGs. And I try to put myself in Ibarranguelu, which is a small village of 200 inhabitants. And it's located on the sea in the map, which is pretty cool because even if I'm from Bilbao, I put the village where I run away whenever I can because it's there where I have all my friends and where I feel more attached to. So thank you. Very happy to be here today with you. And I will pass the floor to...
You have Federico, you have Sebastian, you have Theodore, and you have Sara.
Oh, a lot. Okay, so to Federico.
Hi everyone, good morning. I had a hard time to do this exercise actually, but since one of the places where I'm from is kind of blocked anyway, I put the place where I was born, which is Miramar in the south of Florida in the US. And I'm looking forward to the exercise. I'm a big fan of the learning team. I'm working at the World Secretariat as an accessibility policy officer, the policy team.
Great. So after you, who do you want to know more about?
I would like to know, I think, did Sebastian go already?
No, you can call Sebastian.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Sebastian. I work with CMR. I placed myself in Bujumbura. It's in Burundi because it's the country where I spent the first years of my life. And Africa is also the continent of the focus of my work at CMR because I'm working on the Covenant of Mayors for Sub-Saharan Africa. And I will nominate, I have to look who is left.
Theodore and Sarah.
Theodore, yeah.
Good morning to everyone. I'm Theodore. I am from Prato, a city very close to Florence in Italy. And I am an intern at Platforma since January. And I'm looking forward for this training module. Thank you. And I guess there is still the last person missing, but I'm sorry, I don't remember the name of the person who.
Oh no, we have also Sogen that I saw is here in Durban.
Exactly. That's what I was to say. Sogen, please introduce yourself.
So, hello everyone. I am super excited to be part of the session. So I've been the service provider working with the UCLG learning team. So I'm in Durban, South Africa, and I've been involved with the UCLG for over 8 years, and I'm working as an academic and service provider right now. So I'm really, really happy to be here. It's been a wonderful process putting the module together. And just want to add that decentralized cooperation can be a really powerful tool. So we were living it, we were eating it, we were sleeping it, we were working with many African cities in Namibia, in Malawi, in fact, globally as well. And we found it to be a really powerful and transformative tool. And yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity to sit in. Thank you.
Okay, no, thank you so again for being here and for all the work. So Sarah, I think this process with you.
Yeah, thank you, Maria Alejandra. So I think I've presented myself, but maybe you have noticed I'm a German origin, very close to Brussels. Cologne is a well-known city, and yeah, there I have, but actually I live almost 25 years out of my hometown because I've been living in Latin America and in Asia for many years, and now in Barcelona since 15 years. And so happy to be with you with this wonderful learning team to share and to construct an agenda. A pleasure.
Thank you, Sarah. So let's go to the second part of the exercise where we're gonna do a little bit faster. And it was, we asked you what decentralized cooperation meant for you. So one word that could describe it. So we can see different answers, from developing shared understanding and empathy to building bridges, learning from experience, collaboration between peers, common goals, shared conscience and responsibility for future society, innovation, we got it twice. You see it as a transformative tool. You see it as an opportunity for SDG localization, the proximity to citizens and their needs, cooperation between local government, learning, solidarity, resilient building capacities, also peer-to-peer exchange practices. So we can see here that you have a definition, and so you do have ideas. You do know what decentralized cooperation is, and you do link with some of the principles that are entailed in decentralized cooperation. So I just wanted to see both the map and the decentralized cooperation. If my colleagues can show that the whole picture. Thank you. So if we see this, and as a part of to finalize this exercise, I just wanted to mention and to get into your heads to see how we connect with each other, how we are from the territories, from our different territories that connect with each other, how we all have common goals, how we are interdependent with each other, and how we actually are here trying to learn from other people's experience, and how we are here trying to get to a new idea, to transform a new paradigm, and to actually follow a roadmap, which is the 2030 agenda. So this exercise is just to see that we are actors in decentralized cooperation and that this is decentralized cooperation for all of us. So I'm just gonna pass to the presentation, if my colleagues will allow me.
Maria Ale, I just wondered, I think we can connect with one more person. I think we forgot Jean-Baptiste Buffet.
Oh, really? Oh, I'm sorry, Jean-Baptiste, I didn't see you in the map.
I don't know if I see he's connected. I don't know if he's available. And Simone just connected as well.
Okay, yes. Sorry, I didn't
No,
see
sorry,
him.
I just noticed as well. Sorry, Jean-Baptiste.
Okay, so I don't know if Jean-Baptiste can hear us. So maybe let's go to Simone. Simone, do you want to say something? You want to introduce yourself, please?
Hi, sorry, I just came late because yeah, I need to finish one thing. So thank you very much. I could not hear you at the beginning of the training. So if you want to, I mean, not recap, but if you ask me a specific question, I will try to.
We want to know where you're from, what you do, and what is decentralized cooperation for you.
Okay, I'm working for Cité Unie-France, United Cities of France. That is a French network that is fully engaged on what we call the decentralized cooperation. In our way, the French way to cooperate is more a city-to-city kind of partnership. So we promote, we accompany our members that are engage with other partners around the world on decentralized cooperation projects and partnerships. I'm in charge of a department of a more specific issue is rehabilitation after crisis and Platforma and UCLG as a network. My colleague that maybe will join us, Virginie, she's more in charge of SDGs and decentralized cooperation. There's a new group that we create in our organization 2 years ago, and is in charge of those issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Simone. So as I was saying, I could go to the presentations, please, to the PowerPoint presentation. Great. So just to finalize and how we discussed with your words in the exercise, this is the definition that we managed to have in the module. So decentralized cooperation is development cooperation between LGRs and their associations, acting across border to mutually reinforce their capacity and to involve economic and social actors at local and regional level to address development challenges. Next slide, please. So with your contributions, we also see that you were very aligned with the principles. So the principles and the shared principles that underpin decentralized cooperation are reciprocity and horizontal relationships, proximity and participation, multi-stakeholder and multi-level geographical governance, geographical alliance partnerships based on exchange and mutual learning, and greater possibilities for solidarity. So for this part, we finished the first part and the introduction part of the module of what decentralized cooperation is. So thank you for your cooperation. So I pass the floor to Sara.
Thank you very much, Maria Alejandra, and congratulations to be in time, because this is what we will now try everybody to keep a little bit a look on the time. We will now go into the module and have the first lecture before us. So this is about the evolution of decentralized cooperation, and the lecture is given by Boris. So Boris, the floor is.
Very much. Good morning. I think I have 10 minutes, right? 15 or 10 minutes? 10. Thank you, Maria Alejandra. Okay, so
No,
I think
not 15. You have max.
We are 10. I just seen. I have 10. So let's use these 10 minutes to make a little bit of a trip into the history of decentralized cooperation. You have a slide in front of you that starts in the 1940s, but actually I would like to go much further back in the history. I've recently just did a very small sort of research into the history of inter-municipal cooperation or municipal movements as such, because they lie at the heart of the decentralized cooperation as we know it today. And actually, cities cooperated long time in the past for different purposes, different goals. And I found an interesting example of the Hanseatic cities in the north of Germany, who already in the 13th and 14th century worked together and on an economic and political basis. So this was really maybe for Europe the first example of decentralized cooperation, cooperation of decentralized entities, not big kingdoms, but that cities that defended their own economic potential, their political position, but also, of course, they defended their own position and tried to help each other when necessary and when needed, militarily, but also economically. But then we come to the beginning of the 20th century, where municipal movement actually started to be formed, to exist as an idea. And meetings between different city practitioners occurred already before. They solved different or discussed different problems. But in the beginning of the 20th century, at the General Exposition in Ghent, in Belgium, that was actually the first time that cities came together and said, we need to cooperate because we have similar challenges. And the challenges were linked at the beginning of the century to growing urbanization, and that problem is actually the basis of city issues and problems and activities until today. Cities that grow, people that move into cities, the complexity of the environment, of the urban environment, of addressing economic issues, social issues, spatial development, environment, you know, all the different aspects that cities face and that the local governments face. But then specifically after the Second World War, and it says twinning in the 1940s, it was actually after the Second World War that the world had opened up. Even in Europe, we started to travel much more, to exchange. So actually, this was really the period globally to start a great flow of ideas, of capital, of people, mobility, not only of commercial and military, but also private mobility, industrial mobility began to grow. And the situation after the Second World War, especially in Europe, was really, let's say, in the idea that we need to rebuild Europe together, forget the past, and speak about common future and rebuild friendships among nations that went through two big wars, two global wars in the 20th century. So this idea was really promoted a lot by CMR, the Council of the CEM, the Council of European Municipalities, which became then the Council of European Municipalities and Regions, our European organization, European section. But there's been a lot more going on. So the first city twinnings really were the principle of maintaining friendships between nations, friendships between people, to make Europe a more homogeneous and interconnected continent as such. And then that were the origins to Western municipalities use twinnings to establish partnerships with local authorities in other countries. This was specifically in Western Europe, and this is another maybe of my contributions to this part of the lecture, is that the situation evolved specifically in Western Europe in a different way than in the rest of the Europe. So in Western Europe, it was really a lot of partnerships that were in the process when former colonies became to be liberated, became or gained independence from the former, let's say, large empires or large strong countries in Europe. And there arose really also another angle of building friendships with people, not only within Europe, but across the world. Building friendships between Europe and Africa, Latin America, Asia, all across the world. So this was where we saw the shift from let's say, north-north relations, from our European context to north-south relations, where Europe started to open itself to the world, to look into what is going in other countries, in other continents, but also the idea of the interconnected world started to be formulated, and actually global governance became something in this period, with the United Nations and the Council of Europe, and also different organizations that started to develop to support cooperation between people, basically. And cities at that time still more sought to be the part of this solution, so to be the part of this problem, being present, and also asserting, of course, their political presence, to be something, to be a level of governance, but also to be part of the wider movements. So in 1980s, that was also the era of regionalization. The Europe of region was something that was the idea that was born in the late 70s, early 80s, where the regionalization was supposed to be the answer to the complexity of the modern world, and ongoing efforts for decentralization and capacity and competencies at local and regional levels. So this shift was really towards development in the 70s and 80s. That was really the point where we saw that it's not only friendship, it's not only cooperation, it's not only political links and let's say political idea, but also seeing that these links can be instrumental to development, instrumental to political discussions in terms of policies, but also in understanding that other partners have something to say at the local level, not only cities, but also other stakeholders, citizens. The idea of citizen participation was born in the, let's say, 90s, late 80s, 90s. The idea of the private sector, which plays a role at the local level in economic development, the understanding that academics and researchers have something and can help cities to find better solutions. So this kind of shift from political to multi-stakeholder or multi-technical to capacity building to building together was really born in this north-south period of decentralized cooperation. And of course, we see the big involvement of UCLG, like the CIB working group, the capacity and institutional building. And then later, after 2008, in 2008, we see Platforma being formed in Europe to actually consolidate, develop decentralized development cooperation as a movement, as a way to complement official assistance, cooperation assistance, or official development assistance. And also the European Commission started to discuss a lot closer with us as local government stakeholders. So what would be our role in the overall development strategies? And then came large global policy frameworks. So we started to do global policy in the 90s, in the 1990s, in the 2000s, with different, let's say, policy movements going on, including the Lomé Convention to, for example, to enforce partnerships-based approach, strengthening capacities of institutions and strengthening capacities of delivery. You would see in your module, in your reader, for example, the 1992 Rio Conference, which provided global recognition on the role of local regional governments as agents in development. So these were important steps where local governments actually took a proactive role and positioned themselves on the global scale, or let's say on the global scene. And we see in your slide, you also see different countries that slowly started to become emerging actors: Brazil, Korea, South Africa, Turkey, China. So countries that realize that their role in the world, they want to obviously there's always a political angle to consolidate a role in let's say in the global scene, but also to be present in the major movements that exist on the planet here, also in the municipal movement. And today we have again a new era, a global era of decentralized cooperation, where we create networks, where we work with lots of partners. We have lots of institutions that support different aspects. You see UCLG, you see Metropolis, you see global networks, ICLEI, smart cities, and different thematic networks that work on specific issues in decentralized cooperation. And I think the newest era with decentralized cooperation, in my last 2 minutes of this very quick summary, is probably the era of the Agenda 2030. And that is something that we have started not a long time ago to see how to really take a grasp on global development. After the, let's say, almost political failure of the Millennium Development Goals, which were maybe rightly criticized of being a top-down approach which ignored the realities on the ground. We have now the opportunity to use this framework to relive, to re-establish decentralized cooperation as a tool to achieve global development, among actors, cities and regions who are unique. And we always say cities and regions have to share know-how and have to share their knowledge, which nobody else has. So central governments don't know how to provide services at the local level. Big international donors don't really know a lot about the context at the local level. So we see our role as cities and as regions to work with national governments, with international donors, with the international development community, to make sure that the role of cities and regions is safeguarded, and that decentralization and local democracy will go hand in hand with big international development processes and movements, and of course, flow of international financial aid and assistance. So this is where we are today in this new exciting time, starting to learn what the Agenda 2030 and its Sustainable Development Goals mean for decentralized cooperation. And I think as from tomorrow, we will be able to put all of this in practice because we learn all the specific basics today. So this is my introduction.
Thank you very much, Boris. Well done. Looking back to history is always very fruitful for every region. So I think this introduction, looking back, where Europe comes from and what is the heart of Europe, it was very, very insightful. So you have already seen in the last slide, we had a bicycle. Now this bicycle, we come back to it. You will be biking throughout the whole 3 days. And we do an exercise now because as you know, in the bicycle, most of you probably as Europeans, you all know to bike, which is not the same in some other places. But you have different bicycles. So you can have a strong bike, a mountain bike, a bike for racing. And as we work with this analogy, we would like that every group, so the UCLG group and the Platforma group, build their own bike. And we have prepared a mural worksheet where the groups will be divided. Valeria, you will put us in groups. And there we have facilitators of making the own bike. So Platforma will do its own bike and UCLG the same. I hope there are no questions. If not, I would say let's keep in time. And Valeria, you put us into the different working groups.
Sure. We'll have 20 minutes in the breakout rooms, and we'll share the link for each bike on those breakout rooms. So have a nice trip.
Excellent. So here we are back with not everyone. We have to wait. So Lur, you get ready to explain the bike, no? Valeria can show the screen, share the screen if you are comfortable. Okay.
Okay.
Good.
Is Valeria here? I don't
We
see
wait
her.
for the UCLG group.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they.
Yeah, they should be finishing very soon. And if they're not, they're gonna come back anyways.
You have them.
We can still think of which tires we want.
Yeah. I agree with what we say. That is the reality. I would personally prefer mountain tires.
Hi.
Hello.
So we're back.
Hello.
Okay, welcome back. So good. I hope we have 2 bikes. At least the Platforma bike is ready. The UCLG bike as well. Good. Then we would invite the facilitators to share, or if you have appointed a reporter, to share the experience, the bike, and a little bit please give us a feedback on the exercise as well. No, as you know, this is a pilot of the pilots, so we can make changes, adjustments of all the tools because this is not written in stone and we are here to test them. So should we start with Lur and you report on the findings of Platforma?
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And so as you can see on the screen, we achieved to build a bike with some debates on if this bike will go well on the road or in the mountain. So at the beginning, it was easy to choose which part should go where and which was the best part to fit and to complete this bike and our common approach to decentralized cooperation. There was a point of debate with the wheels or the tires, given that one represents policy and the other one represents project. And this is just what we were debating before the other group joined us here. That the reality is that currently we work on policy, we work on projects as well, on decentralized cooperation. But in the future, how will be this bike? Maybe it will be better that the 2 wheels are the same so that the bike can go faster and more efficiently go on the road. And there was also a good remark from Simone about that in the future, maybe this bike could have a kind of electrical assistance with the pedals to go faster and longer for support, as you can see in the post-it. Other colleagues had also the idea that this could be represented through the Green Deal. And I'm sure that in the future, this assistant could be represented by many other policy initiatives or projects or instruments. But maybe this is an idea for the future of the module. And to conclude, and I let you complete, it's for sure a bike that it represents the reality, but that it can change and it can be modified in the short term, but also in the long term for sure. And this exemplifies sometimes the, let's say, flexible character of decentralized cooperation, depending on the territorial context and on the stakeholders that are included. So this is all. I let you complete. Thank you.
Any remarks from the team? So good. Then we would go to the next group.
I think Boris had a comment, but
Boris.
Sorry.
I had a comment for the exercise. We were wondering at some point, are we building a bicycle that we have now, that we can ride now, or are we imagining a bicycle we want in the future? So this could be maybe clearer in the exercise so that we know what to focus on.
Yeah, so we have, we will add this that in the instruction that we build a bicycle for the current capacity. Okay, we go with the UCLG bike.
Yeah, we had the same dilemma here about where we are
Looks very
and what
similar.
and what would be the ideal. So we solved the problem a lot of times when we had like two options as the tires, for instance, to put one and another, because sometimes we had like at the same time the two characteristics somehow. So but the discussion was very interesting, because when we thought of defining and what would be the ideal and the characteristics that we had, the discussion was very interesting about the what bike we would gonna design. So for the saddle, we decide for a fastest one as the UCLG as the leading role, and the handlebars. About the political will, also a fastest one with a clear 2030 agenda leading us, and the tires one of each, because we always think of policies, but the policies on the front tire, and the project as the back tire. I think it's a good solution to this tire and policy and project based centralized cooperation. And the brakes, we decided for disc brakes with a more precise local policies and mechanisms. And the gears, we decided for the multi range gears that give us different possibilities according to the bumps in the road. The communication, we decided for a stronger one and doing a lot of noise here. And the last one, we decided we have to work this. We decided to, as we had like two options there, we decided to put one in another, because we believe we have the two characteristics. So that's it. Thank you, Sarah.
Okay, anybody want to say something also on the methodology from the UCLG team? Nobody?
Sarah? There's a very interesting comment from Amandine also in the chat.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
the methodology is
good.
great, but she makes a good suggestion about this exercise. Maybe Amandine, you'd like to say more?
Yeah, no, just as we both groups had an issue with the current and ideal situation, or not an issue, but a reflection on that. I was thinking maybe it could be another kind of exercise to build two bikes and to reflect on how to get from the current situation to the ideal one. So just
yeah. Yeah, I think there are also the comment of Jana. It's a little bit short. This is of course because we are here in the pilot, and when we know, it depends really on the group, the exercise you choose. We want to show you as much exercises as possible. So of course it is all a little bit squeezed, that's why. No, but
no, and that's great like that. I just had this in mind when we had this exercise.
Yeah, no, it's true. And probably that is a good reflection, because the exercise is trying to provocate this, no? That probably if you it is to go home with this idea, no? What do I want and what do I do? I think also the answer that the bike has two wheels because people feel very diverse with policy and projects. It's very interesting answer, and there is a piece to work around. No, why are these different speeds, and is it possible to work with the two different speeds? What does it mean for the whole mechanics? So we will come back to these questions while working the chapters. And it is a very good suggestion also to take it a little bit, okay, what do we want? Maybe to dedicate in an exercise 2 minutes, okay, here we are, and what would we like to be? Or inverted. So point taken, and thank you very, very much for the reaction. This is a warming up. We have foreseen a breakout now.
I think Pablo already, I think he raised the hand too.
Oh,
no, it's okay,
good.
No, it's okay.
Pablo, please introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I was in my breakout room already, but
okay.
And good morning. No, for me, it was a brilliant exercise, but I do agree that having two possibilities of building two bikes, it's good, since we can be honest or idealistic. And from our side, it was a decision on taking on the saddle, which, being honest with UCLG, we chose this one. But being our ideal scenario, we would have a different bike, obviously. So I think having two bikes is a good one, and it's being honest as well with our process.
Yeah, excellent. No, this is good. I mean, having a little bit more time for those who will use this exercise, and for us also, we can look into this option. No? Okay, so now we have foreseen a little break of 10 minutes. Are you all okay with this? Then we would meet. Now we have 10:24. We are 4 minutes behind schedule.
Yeah.
And I think this is okay. So we would meet here really sharp 10:35, so that we can go into our second part of the morning. And now let you go out, stretch a bit, or go to the garage and look what is your bike and how is it going. Whatever. Thanks a lot. And see you, please. We start sharp. You can also keep connected. You don't need to disconnect.
Agenda 2030 and the SDGs. As you are no doubt well aware,
Okay, so we should be coming back. Oh,
Yes.
Anna. Thank you for coming back.
I'm very punctual.
I can see. Okay, let's see. Thank you, Julia.
Okay. So, are we ready?
I think so.
Sorry. Good. Good to have you all back. And we go into our next part, and we will listen to some lecture. So the first lecture will be given by one of my colleagues of the World Secretariat, Jean-Baptiste Buffet, who is actually, I think, a really wonderful expert on this part he will report to. He's coordinating our policy team, and I think all Platforma colleagues know him very well. So Jean-Baptiste, floor is yours.
Thank you, Sarah. Hi, colleagues. Well, it's great to be here. It's great to see that we are more and more connecting the dots between not only learning, but also the global policy agenda. And I really liked some of the new tools you've tried today. I love really the bicycle. Well, when I looked at the agenda of the module and its content, I really liked the fact that you've put more than the SDG agenda for linking with decentralized cooperation today, because when you look at the slide and when you see these six agendas that we're all working on one way or another, there are very strong links and opportunities, I would say, with decentralized cooperation. A bit like Boris, I will start a little bit before than 2011, which is when the Busan Partnership was agreed worldwide, but start with the Development Cooperation Agenda. Actually, if you look at this Development Cooperation Agenda, which was before called the Aid Effectiveness Agenda, you can see a shift actually before a little bit 2010, 2011, which started with a big critique on this agenda of aid, which actually placed too much emphasis on the mechanisms of aid rather than the impact on development generated by aid. And that may seem quite little, but it's actually a big shift. One of the weaknesses that we had identified in this very agenda before 2010 is actually the absence of the key development stakeholders. It was way too much driven by the global north, and civil society was absent, local governments were absent, and the voice of the global South was lacking. So in 2011, the Busan Principles were agreed, and I think they are very strong 4 principles that still drive this agenda today. The first one is that it is an agenda that needs to be owned by developing countries. We cannot have the global North driving the agenda of the South any longer. Second, it's an agenda that has to be focused on results and on impact. And I think that's also where there's lots still of progress to be done. And third, it's an agenda that should be based on partnerships. So this is where we, as local governments, at decentralized cooperation, come in. And then fourth, which also very strong, transparency and shared responsibility. This is a very important agenda actually still now. First, because it's still very much alive. There is still what we call the Global Partnership for Effective and Development Cooperation, which is still the platform to actually work on those 4 principles through partnerships. And it's an interesting agenda in the sense that where the SDGs are the what, the development effectiveness agenda is trying to define the how. So through those different platforms and partnerships. Obviously for us, it's very much linked to decentralized cooperation. This is where we have the most direct opportunities to actually tell the story, tell what are the comparative advantages of decentralized cooperation to actually reach more sustainable development. So we can come back to this one afterwards. Second, well, I mean, now we are looking at 3 agendas that were agreed in 2015, so a very important year. And I will start with the financing one, so the Addis Ababa Action Agenda. It's a very important one, even though it's not always recalled, but it actually provided a new framework to finance sustainable development. And for our constituency, for local governments, we had a very important paragraph, the paragraph 34 in this agenda, which was quite a breakthrough. And it stated that this agenda needs to make sure that national governments have sufficient financial autonomy to actually prepare sound financial strategies that are aligned with the other global agendas. So it's very important, not only that first part, but also the link with the other agendas, to actually enhance the capacity of local and regional governments to build partnerships either with development banks, regional or national. Second was to activate climate finance, and third, to actually work on stronger urban municipal finance in developing and in LDCs. So this is a paragraph that we always recall when we go for advocacy. But as I said, we really want to look at those 2 parts, the financial autonomy for local governments, but also financing the other agendas. This is also very much linked with climate finance and with localizing climate finance. So obviously in that very year, the Paris Climate Accord, or the Paris Climate Agreement, was a major achievement. It actually opened a totally new era for global climate action. I think all of you in this module were there or know most of it. But still, three very interesting components there. First, it's universal. So it's a universal commitment, not only from national governments, but on multi-level and multi-stakeholder action. And that we'll come back to that later, but that is a critical also breakthrough compared to the other protocols before. Second, obviously, the limitation to 1.5 degrees. And third, very important as well, the NDCs, so the national determined contributions. National governments have to report at least every 5 years on how they can achieve the limitation to 1.5 degrees. And this is why COP26, that was supposed to be held last November, so 5 years after, is so important this year. Obviously for us and for the networks, it was a major achievement. It is a major achievement in the sense that we are not only recognized in the preamble, but also in paragraph 15. And this is very important when it says that climate action is not voluntary anymore. It is a core duty of all levels of governments. So it's putting national governments and stakeholders to step up and ensure benefits for transformation for all. So very critical on this and also in road to COP26. I want to perhaps spend a bit of more time on the Sendai and then on SDGs which are more well known, but perhaps on the Sendai, which are also two important ones impacting decentralized cooperation. Well, in Sendai, they had to renew the Yogo protocol that came to an end in 2015, and actually also in this one, a very important achievement for local authorities, and it's perhaps the longest statement calling to us and for us in a major international agenda, as it called to empower us, local authorities, as appropriate regulatory financial means to work and coordinate with other relevant stakeholders in disaster risk management at local level. Actually Sendai tried to really solve some gaps that we had identified in the Yogo protocol. We had really spotted evident gaps in capacity, in knowledge, in financing, in support to decentralized cooperation in this one. And target E of the Sendai framework has been a very important achievement, because it's actually pushing national governments to support us and to set up those multi-level mechanisms to ensure that we have coordination and action in actually making the Sendai framework a reality on the ground, on the local ground. So it's going even more into some of the details that are very present in the other resilience module that we've been developing, but it's providing that framework for local governments to implement the strategies, to align with the national and international strategies, and to push for that enabling both policy and governance environments with the national level. So four key priorities in this one is very much detailed in the other module, but it's providing this priority on understanding risk, and then how can you strengthen governance around risk, and then 3, how can you invest in resilience, and then 4, how can you enhance preparedness. So I wouldn't be longer on this one, as we have also, there is another module available, but very, very critical as well. And then the 2 last ones, but I will be not so long on the SDGs, as we know that beyond SDG 11, we have also made very, very good progress on the localization of all other goals. But perhaps one of the goals, and Sarah had the background of SDG 17, that is perhaps not so much having not so much attention, but it's actually quite strong for us and for decentralized cooperation, because this is where the notion of peer learning appears. This is where the notion of multi-stakeholder partnerships to mobilize financial resources to achieve the agenda appears. This is where the goal encourages effective public-private partnerships and civil society partnerships. So I think we also have these opportunities there to put decentralized cooperation into the objectives and targets. Of course, we have a full range of chapters and modules on this, but perhaps one of the most important is that inspiration and that alignment, that possible alignment of the local level to the goals and objectives that has provided also a great wealth of knowledge and opportunities for decentralized cooperation and local governments around the world. And I'll finish with the new urban agenda, which perhaps for me, as from personal point of view, perhaps is the most powerful one, but is also not the easiest one, as it is more of a political and policy agenda. But I think if I can sum this up, for me it is the new urban agenda is a connector, it's an accelerator, and it's a catalyzer of all what we've just discussed before of the 5 other agendas. But if you nail it down to all what it contains, the right to the city, the push for decentralization, the urban-rural continuum, participatory approaches, we have here also very important mechanisms to accelerate localization. So I think my time is almost over, but this is for you to have that kind of a helicopter view on what the links are between those agendas and decentralized cooperation. I think it's very interesting to see all these opportunities and also all this great progress that we've made in less than 6 years for the constituency and for decentralized cooperation at global level. I think that's quite promising. I think perhaps one of the things that the international agenda can make progress on, and we as well, is perhaps to deepen those links between those agendas. This is what we're going to try to do with the new urban agenda in the coming year. But I think I hope that was useful for all of you. That was not too much information, and I'll remain here for the remaining parts of the conversation. Thank you again, dear colleagues.
Thank you so much, Jean-Baptiste. It was brilliantly done, I think. You are very clear. You have given us the necessary narrative to understand the connection between decentralized cooperation and SDG, the narrative and the impact. And of course, if we look in the bicycle analogy, so what Jean-Baptiste has unfolded is this beautiful wheel of 17 colors. And this is not only the 17 colors of the SDG, but it's a whole cycle of the global agenda, which you summarized very, very clearly. Thank you so much for this. And now we have a small online lecture, real online lecture. I hope my colleague Fernando and Julia are prepared to share this, because this is a little experiment which we will do. And I would like you to humble with us if it's not working technically completely well. But Fernando, the floor is yours. I switch off the mic.
Unpacking Agenda 2030 and the SDGs. As you are no doubt well aware, the 2030 Agenda has set the global development agenda for the next 10 years, identifying and stimulating crucial areas of action for both humanity and our planet. Now, as local and regional government practitioners, I think it's really important to understand the principles and the dimensions of the 2030 Agenda in order to effectively localize it in our respective towns, cities, and regions. The 17 SDGs and 169 related aspirational global targets are very action-oriented, global in nature, and universally applicable. They are comprehensive in their scope, and they cover all the policy domains that are essential for sustainable growth and development. Interestingly, they are also very strongly interconnected. Progress in one area spills over into other domains. The SDGs require coherent policy design as well as implementation and multi-stakeholder engagement to help many different actors reach their shared objectives. Now, there are 3 concepts that we need to understand about the linkages between 2030 Agenda, the SDGs, and decentralized cooperation. Firstly, the SDG Principles. These are based on experience, multi-dimensional approach to sustainable development, leave no one behind, global in nature, universal nature, integral nature, and inclusive. Secondly, localization. You see, the effective implementation of SDGs will largely be dependent on our ability to realize them in our own cities and regions. All of the SDGs have targets that relate directly to the mandates of local and regional governments, given our responsibility around basic service delivery and local development. It's for this reason that we have to be at the heart of 2030 agenda. Cities and regions that are well suited to translate Agenda 2030 into more concrete and tangible actions. Moreover, they can work closely with their citizens to engage them and ensure they understand how local action contributes to the achievement of global goals. Now, whilst all 17 goals have an impact on cities and regions, it may be useful to pay particular attention to SDG 11, which focuses on sustainable cities and communities. Thirdly, SDG 17, a global partnership for sustainable development. In a nutshell, SDG 17 is about the need to form global partnerships in order to pursue sustainable development. The traditional one-to-one partnership is really being replaced by multi-level, multi-stakeholder key partnerships that bring together all of the stakeholders across different levels, across borders, and across sectors to really effectively address local challenges. So remember, of all the tiers or spheres of government, it's LRGs, that's us, that are in an ideal position to encourage and facilitate partnerships between private bodies, public bodies, and civil society within our communities. We hope that this summary has helped unpack the principles and the important dimensions of Agenda 2030 and how we, as local and regional governments, can really make a difference.
So this was again, and he had to step out of the meeting, but actually this is also a test for some keynotes to try to make them a little bit virtual. I mean, virtual never replaces in-house, no? Because of course, as we could now see with Jean-Baptiste and also with Boris in the lectures, they could really engage to pieces which are so interesting for us and to their own experiences. But as we hope that this module will also roll out massively, then we need to test different formats. And this is a little bit the piece of a lecture done done virtually before actually delivering. But fortunately, we have now the next lecture, which comes in the same line. And I appreciate Jean-Baptiste and Boris, you have been really excellent also in using our slides because there is the idea of step by step. And now we have Pablo, who is our chief here for the next chapter, for the next narrative, building a common narrative between decentralized cooperation and SDG, the narrative of the principles. And of course, Pablo, we know that your experience is amazing. The work you are doing in UCLG is also amazing, and you are deeply connected to this agenda. So the floor is yours, and you give us an insight lecture of 10 minutes.
Thank you, Sarah, and hi everyone. It's a complicated lecture since it's all about trying to build a case on narrative, and this is something with which I would like to start, which is building the case on the power of narrative. Since narrative might sound trivial to many of us, and we don't find its sense as easy when talking about something as concrete as decentralized cooperation. So first of all, I would try to build a case on the transformative power of the narrative, and on finding tune between localizing the formal process of localization, but as well as the political process of what localizing means, and this is narrative. Narrative is the political scope that can give us access to this leading transformation. And also, I would also say that narrative is the spirit the spirits of what we are doing, and this is how we link each of them. I will go now with this slide, and I will try to make you go directly to the SDGs principles and to the 8, measurable, because we tend to link SDGs with this. Even though we all agree that we have a renewed social contract and that we talk about leaving no one behind, when we talk about projects, specific things that we are doing in the territories related to the SDGs, we try to think, how do we measure to have access to finance, to have access to grants, to report to my national government? So we normally tend to relate SDGs to reporting, monitoring, and not to the common narrative of leaving no one behind. When we talk about decentralized cooperation from our constituency, it's obvious that we are talking about solidarity, that we are talking about the common good, or on public service delivery, as we were seeing in the virtual lecture before. So what we try to do is to merge these narratives. And this is why we are doing them in 2 ways, one on principles and one on synergies. I will go to the synergies one later on. So my case here is that SDGs are more than an indicator system to measure development in the United Nations. They are in these principles. We normally tend to identify them with the identity, with the 17 colors, with the 70s logos, but they are the principles based on experience. They are multidimensional, and they have a powerful idea, which Jean-Baptiste was referring before, which is a game changer. They are both from the North and the Global South. And this is crucial. This is how they link to the Busan principles. Even though we have that they are focused on results, the Busan principles, and that they need transparency and accountability, they have a strong ownership, development priorities, and developing countries component, which the SDGs have also. So having said this, we need to build a common narrative around this, and the common narrative around them is localization and transformation. So if we go to the next slide, and this is where we'll see them as clear as it is the transformative decentralized cooperation. It is in line with the SDGs. We always tend to say that city diplomacy is transformative. And how do we make actionable this diplomacy? It is through decentralized cooperation. And this means that decentralized cooperation is the transformation tool that we have to localize the SDGs. If we go through this link, and if we make this case, it is trying to bridge between what donors and politicians in international level are negotiating through the actionable sphere of government, which is local and regional governments, who are transforming this is also important. We are not only transforming territories, we are transforming the Agenda 2030 and the SDGs when we localize the agenda. It is giving the cross-cutting issue. It's not only transformative in terms of assistential practices in the territories, but it's also transforming from the bottom up the universal framework. I will go one by one to the principles only to build a case. And this is also building the case in terms of where we are and where we stand. The SDGs are a universal framework. This is what we were saying when talking about global south and north. They are also a roadmap. We need to know that we have a pathway towards 2030 and beyond in terms of transforming this practice and including new partners. They are a possibility of exchange, cooperation of knowledge, not only between local governments, but also inside the same government, between areas of the different local and regional governments. They highlight foreign action of our constituency. What we mean by this is that they bridge between local and international, which is something that we can facilitate through the networks, but as well through the projects. They highlight the need for states and international organizations to provide our constituency with skills and resources. And I have to say that they also help us to advocate on this. The agenda also calls for strengthening of data and collection and management, which is a reporting process which is good to attract donors, but as well to make local and regional governments more transparent and more accountable. And finally, it aims to improve monitoring and reporting systems both nationally, locally, and internationally. And then we have the decentralized cooperation as a driver of localization, as I said before. And these are only facts to build a case. We all know that 70% of the targets of the SDGs depend on local action. And the decentralized cooperation is a way to transform how we tackle this action, which is through localization. Decentralized cooperation is a perfect space for a multi-partner and multi-stakeholder engagement in the territorial level, which is SDG 17 is the SDG that covers all the agenda. Decentralized cooperation can help as well to raise local awareness, to inform citizens, as Ludo was referring in the chat before, which is one of the political exercises that we need to do if we want to meet the targets. Decentralized cooperation also promotes multi-level governance, which is necessary, and it's 100% localization process. And it also serves as a platform to systematize, share, learning, building capacities. And finally, it encourages motivation of both, I would say here, local leaders and citizens. Finally, if we go to my next slide, we need to bring decentralized cooperation. Well, we need to bring development through decentralized cooperation to the territories. For us, this is localization. We go with the 5 P's of sustainable development, and we will add 2, which is project and policy through the exercise we had with the bicycle. This is super relevant since this sustainable development is based on people, planet, prosperity, partnership, and peace. These are the 5 P's that are the global scope. What we say is that through decentralized cooperation, we have the 2 tires, which is project-based and policy-based, and this lands in the territory. This whole bicycle atmosphere, this place where we are riding this common bike, is what localization means for us, and it's a localization process that we need to strengthen. For us, this is not only about project and policy, but as well as public services. So I would add the 8th P, which is public, since the public is back. And this is what we are doing when we talk about localization, is bringing public as a responsibility of local and regional governments, but as well as our common good and our common agenda. So this is the bicycle of localization. It's a bicycle of multi-stakeholders and partnership engagement. And this is narrative. It's the political side that gives our tires the possibility to keep biking, which is narrative and the political live. So I would leave it here in terms of building the case around narrative, Sarah. I hope it makes sense, and it's only bringing back localization everywhere. I know it's in the notes, but I think we need to have it permanently everywhere, since this is what we are describing.
Thank you very much, Pablo. I enjoyed a lot your presentation. You made an amazing job for such a complex picture. No, I mean, when we see this graphic, we thought, oof, this is undigestible. And you made it so easy. So thank you so much. It was a very nice unfolding, I would say, of the task. And I particularly like you highlighted very naturally the role of the South, the new way to look at the world, and also the importance of action, no? Because of course, this is the need now on the SDG agenda and also on the role of local governments, and I think the aspiration and inspiration local governments give is action, and you highlighted this very natural, and thank you very, very much. So there is one question on the 7P, which I will allow now, because before we go to the next exercise, the exercise you will see will be very interactive and will bring us a little bit into action. But before, of course, Eva, you would like to raise a question.
Okay, thanks a lot, Sarah, and also to all of you who've presented. I think it's really interesting. Yes, it's on the 7 Ps on the bicycle. Have you considered including the private P? Because I know that when we talk about all these things, we focus mostly on the public sector and public in general, but private can also add something, and it can be very valuable depending on how you tackle that and what you include under this private. But for instance, I'm dealing with climate, and we see that using public funds on their own is not sufficient. So we're also including the private aspect, not only in terms of financing, but private companies, private action. So I don't know to what extent you would include it, or you have considered, or you just want to focus on these 7 Ps for the time being. Or maybe you've already raised this earlier, but I couldn't join from the beginning. So apologies if you've already mentioned this. Thank you, Sarah.
Pablo, you want to say something?
Yes, I would say that public is not one of the 7 Ps. Actually, I was suggesting to include it as an 8.1. And what we refer with public is not public funding, is public service delivery as a key component to meet the targets of the SDGs. So it's building a case on that we need public service delivery, and this can be done through public investment, PPPs, and many ways, but it's not about funding. It's about public services as a key component to meet all the targets. But I would totally agree on including private, not as a P for me, because it's not as relevant, but as one of the ways of meeting the 5 Ps, the 2 Ps of which is policy and projects of the centralized cooperation. And I would include the localization P, which is public service delivery.
Well, we have actually, there is this P of partnership. This is very much about private and public. We also, when we were looking at the 2 additional Ps, this is a little bit, the module will focus on the 2 Ps we have been identified, so project and policy. And in our understanding how we have introduced it and deal it, it is about public policy. So the policy, when you will see the term, it is mainly the local policy related to public service. So I think it is very good inspiration. We can look into this and maybe also give this to as an orientation to the trainers to think about this. But I think also it will come up in the next lectures when we will deepen a little bit the understanding and the application of policy. So thank you very much. And now we go again to play in the mural. It's actually, we have an exercise recently designed last week. And Maria Alejandra, you want to introduce the exercise, or should we directly go to the breakout rooms?
I think we should go to the breakout rooms, and each of us can just, the facilitator can just take it and explain it ourselves.
Okay, so we have just looked into the time. We are 10 minutes behind schedule, and we will extend 10 minutes. Sarah has approved it on behalf of Platforma, and I hope it is okay, so that we can actually use the time for the exercise. We don't need to cut it.
Great. So Valeria, if you could take us in a ride to the breakout room.
I think I was kicked out for some reason.
Okay,
I am not sure which room I was supposed to go to.
You're on number 3. Let me try to join you there.
someone wants to, I think we are back on the group, right? So we can give a name for our son.
Local fisherman.
Fishing inequalities.
Fish for life.
Fish for life with 4, right?
Yeah, with 4, of course.
With 4.
You need acronyms.
Yes, yeah, that's fundamental for SDGs. But yeah, yeah, difficult. Wish 4, 8, 11, 17, life. Yeah. That's great. That's great.
Do we want to link to any more SDGs? We have about 4 more minutes still.
I would.
So I don't know if everybody's back or not. I don't see, I think we're missing Sarah's group. Fernandez here. So we're having Fernandez group. That's good. Sarah.
Yeah, thank you. There was an additional time that was welcome. And now we have 3 groups and we have reporters. So we will share our first, you share the findings, and then we would like to reflect a little bit on the exercise before concluding. So the first group, I understand Marta is our reporter.
Yes, thank you. So in our group, we were inspired by a project that is currently organized by UCLG Culture Committee in partnership with other organizations. It's called Cultural World Africa. So we envisaged an artistic project to raise awareness on climate emergency with a clear gender approach and based on partnerships mainly. So this project relates also to SDG 8 because it has a very strong aim to empower local communities and empower the cultural sector. So about the needs that we detected, we identified there are main ones like the budget and financial resources and human resources, but we also looked at training, mobilization of stakeholders, monitoring and evaluation. And this is really important, actually. This is what partners in this project do. Among other things, communication, etc. And also legal frameworks, of course. And when we looked at actors and local governments, we also talk about how citizens could be involved, and we thought of crowdfunding initiatives. We thought of education involving schools, teachers, children from the beginning, involving local leaders and providing training resources as well. and finally, we looked at other SDGs that could be strongly related with this project. And we thought of SDG 10, inequalities, SDG for quality education, 12, related to sorry, responsible consumption and production. 9 related to cultural infrastructure in this case, and 17, of course, partnership for the goals. I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. That was excellent. We would go to group 2 now.
Would suggest that as Sarah will end the day, I would suggest that Simone could do our reporting. What do you say, Simone?
I prefer you do.
Simone, come on, please.
Go.
So,
No,
so I would suggest
you have the clear picture. I can complete, but please.
Okay. So then you do it between the two.
I don't know if Lure wanna be a volunteer, Lure.
But I let Simone start.
Okay, so we think we start thinking a project, and the first point we made is that the 3 SDGs that we select are maybe complicated to linked, but finally we found a nice project that is called Fish for Life. So it's a project of decentralized cooperation where we try to improve among others, you will see needs and goals, but improve the condition of fishing of the local fishermen. So, and that will, of course, pass through many kind of activities and needs to do that. Improve, of course, the good health and reduce inequality because we try to improve among others, the capacity of the fishermen to to develop those activities in a more durable way. So this is the general our project. So it's a project between 2 local authorities, 2 cities. Even though we see that we could imagine that more a consortium of many, but we try to have this example. We foster the job of young and employed people, even also regard to the gender balance, to include also the women on the project. So maybe I stop here. Luz, you can continue.
So to complete, thank you, Simone. About the name, maybe Fish for Life that Sarah proposed, which is a very good name. Also to include more acronyms and numbers related to SDGs. But at the end, it's something that is easy to retain and that can also have a message for citizens. And what to say? To be honest, we found at the beginning that it was a bit difficult to link with the SDG 14, but then after the conversation were advancing, we realized that there were much links that we realized. So this showed that in decentralized cooperation, there are a lot of links that could be made, but it also takes time and conversation between multi-stakeholders. Voilà. And I let the other complete if necessary.
I don't know if Jaume want to comment on the needs and the actors or the other SDGs.
Yes, on the actors, this is a complex project, and we were thinking of involving different types of actors from business. For example, because the SDG on health made us think on the working conditions of fishermen, civil society and NGOs, because the fact that we are talking about fishing also tells us about the issue of overfishing and the relationship between global fishing corporations and local fishing people. Yeah, and you can see that this relates to very different SDGs. Yes, you can see a lot of different actors like national authorities. Also, we mentioned the EU, maybe cooperatives, because this can be developed through social and solidarity economy, maybe, etc.
I can finish on the SDGs if you want, Fernando.
Please go.
So yes, we were starting to realize very quickly that whilst we were describing our own project, we were talking about different aspects that were going beyond SDGs 14, 3, and 10. We were automatically, of course, talking about jobs, which is SDG 8. SDG 11 is a given. SDG 17, you cannot escape when you're doing a partnership at local level. And then, of course, it brings us to topics such as, and they're not all, I think, even listed here, but SDG 5 for gender equality, if the project takes that dimension into account as well. Responsible consumption, when we're talking about sustainable fishing, is also automatically linked. Innovation, if we want to provide innovative tools for the fishing project, that can also be an added value for the European cities who maybe have less an issue related to unemployment, but would like to focus more on the sustainable fishing part. Quality education, lifelong learning, capacity building for all the young unemployed that we will train. And then, of course, I think we can practically link all the other SDGs because automatically it connects together with the whole agenda, which is the point, I guess, is to showcase that it is very, very linked with other aspects. So I think we'll end there and give the floor to the third group.
Yeah, we do. Thank you. That was very nice. Also, you reported one reporter to every circle. Very nice. The third group, who would
multi-report.
Don't worry, you do not need to do the same. You can report in any way.
I will be the reporter for the third group. So for the sake of time, I will be very brief and very quick. So I will just focus on some of the main elements because as you see, we have a lot of things. We really use the time very productively. So we had 3 SDGs, so no poverty, good quality education, and responsible consumption and production. So we don't have a catchy name of the project like the previous team, but we basically have 2 elements of the project. So the first element is really about raising awareness about these different SDGs through education. And one of the elements was here non-formal education, but also digitalization and in education. And the second element of the project then would be about also building the capacities of the local and regional local authorities, in particular by looking on the, for example, waste management as a way to then address, responsible consumption and production. And also very much looking into supporting circular economy related building capacities related to the circular economy. So the project would have sort of 2 different components. And in one of the objectives would be in general to reduce inequalities and the gaps, reduce the poverty. So when it comes to needs that we have identified, so as you see, there are a lot of needs, and these are the needs that any project has, from the political will, if we are talking about working with the local regional authorities, to finances with for any other project, expertise, of course, when we are talking about circular economy, would be very much needed. Networks in order to have the most influence and the most reach for the project, and a lot of other elements of the needs. I'm not going to go into all of them. Then there are a lot of actors that also would be involved. As you see, the project is rather broad. I think we were very ambitious in general, and we are identified a lot of actors that could be relevant, from politicians, to local enterprises, to farmers, if we are again talking about circular economy. We had a discussion about national governments and their involvement, whether this would be needed or not if we are working with the local regional authorities. I'm not going to go into detail on that, but it was an interesting discussion to an extent that this involvement of national authorities is actually required in a project like this. And then finally on the SDGs, we again picked a lot of SDGs from the list, but I think I will only mention those that we really thought that are really most connected. So as the previous project is the 17, so the partnership for the goals. I mean, if we are talking about, for example, reduced inequalities as well as one of our objectives would be. And finally, if we are talking about the waste management and the circular economy, sustainable cities and the communities, but a lot of other SDGs would also be related in one way or another to the project. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jana. And I think what I found very inspiring is that actually, as all the groups have other SDG, they are always inspiring, no? Because so one group inspires the other. This is what I can take away from the test. Maybe time is a little bit short also for this exercise, but in my reading at least, I don't know what colleagues say, it helps to see the inspirational character of also looking into the SDG, in the individual SDGs. So thank you very, very much. And of course, we will like also feedback and suggestions on this exercise as we do on all. And now, before going to wrap up, I would like to remind you that on Monday we have the next session, and on Monday we go into the practice even more. No, so this has been a little bit a start up to look into what we are dealing with, and we will on Monday use your projects of Platforma colleagues to work on this, to align better, to apply all the concepts and all the learnings. And maybe I think, as we see from today, to have a little bit flexibility on time, 15 minutes more might be helpful also for that day. And now I would give the floor to Sarah Benz, because she will do the wrap up of the day. Before we say goodbye, we will want to take a picture of our trainers community. Yeah, so Sarah, do you want to speak first and later we take the picture?
Yeah, we can do that. Thank you, Sarah. You already gave a good basis for the wrap up and for the next steps. I wanted to ask all colleagues quickly, if they can in the chat, already indicate what was their favorite part of today's session. Do you prefer, is there a specific lecture that you enjoyed most of all, or an activity? Just let us know. And that way it's also interesting to see what is the most engaging part for you. And there's no right answer, just feel free. You can also add everything if you think everything was great. And like Sarah mentioned, feel free as well to give us feedback on specific parts if you think that it could be improved some way or somehow. So thank you all, first of all, for your really engaging participation, interactive participation. This is new for several of us. Some of you have already gone through trainings done by UCLG, but I know for the Platforma team, for instance, it was a new experience, and I hope you all enjoyed it. This first session today was based on chapters 1 and 2, so it's really the basis of the module. We went through the history, we went through what is it about, why a narrative is important, and it really allows us to know where we're coming from, to be able to know where we want to go. So the next chapters will be more forward-looking as well. Maybe some different types of reflection will be brought to the table, and I hope that you will enjoy it just as much as you enjoyed today. So chapters 3 and 4 will be the next topics for the next session on Monday. So this is the program for day 2, as you can see already on the screen. We will go through a similar type of a mix of different activities as today. There will be lectures, there will be engaging activities, like exercises, interactive exercises as always. On the topics that are on the screen. You all received also the agenda in an email by Maria Alejandra, so don't hesitate to go through that agenda as well and look more. Please look at your module and look at the chapters 3 and 4 so that you can come prepared with any questions or comments. And if there's any specific part of the agenda next week that you think is very interesting and you'd like to know more, or you'd like to be actively involved in the presentation or in the activity itself, let us know as well so that we can include you in advance. So yeah, that's, I think, I know we're already running over time, so I'm not going to spend too much time going through the agenda or the next steps. There will be a third day, as we all know as well. So that we will talk about also next week. I know there will be some slight difference in participation. Some colleagues that are joining today will not be joining next week, and vice versa. We will be welcoming some new colleagues next week as well. So wanted to specifically thank also the colleagues who are leaving or who have already left us today. And thank you for joining us. With all of our busy agendas, it's amazing that we managed to block time for 3 full mornings of trainings, and I think it's very useful and helpful, and it's really nice on a personal, I think, reflection also, to spend time between UCLG and Platforma and CMR staff and train each other and do activities together for each other and with each other. So hopefully there will be more occasions to do that as well. So I hope I didn't forget anything. Sarah, let me know if there's something other that you think needs to be mentioned to help prepare for next week, but it's all in the module, it's all in the email that Maria Alejandra sent. And if you need more information, just let us know and we can resend it, or we can give you more extra guidelines. So that's it. And now I think we want to do a group picture.
Exactly. So if we could, everybody switch on the camera and we take out the slide, the shared screen. Who was sharing? Yeah. So now, okay, Fernando is on board. Thank you. All is shining with the city Unifrance. Simone, your background is powerful. Okay, so thanks a lot. It was very nice. You all did a wonderful job, because I think this is, we learned all together, each from each and everybody from everybody. So for us, it's very nice. And I also enjoyed that we are a small group, because it really enables us, even we don't have time to chat on what we are doing and so on, but I think at least I feel we have built a lot of trust and partnership. So we look very much forward to see you again.
Thank you to all.
Thank you.
Muchas gracias, España.
Muchas gracias.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
big thanks to the UCLG learning team for the great preparation and the slides and the gaming. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Viva Mariola, viva Julia, viva Valeria.
Adiós. Adiós desde Bruselas.
Adiós.
Adiós.
Super.
Sarah, I've got a question for you. I don't know if I can ask you directly now.
Yeah, okay.
Question suggestion very quickly is that as you know that there is this new concept of the bat house, and Sarah, you can also listen to that, and Boris, and this bat house concept, I don't know if you're aware of that or have looked into that or not at all.
Back house?
Bat house.
Ah,
European bat house.
Yeah, I think I know. Can you write the term down, because I think I know
it's German Bauhaus.
It's Bauhaus.
Just
New
like
Bauhaus.
Bauhaus. Okay. Because sorry, Bauhaus, yeah. Because this is, in case you're not aware of that, maybe it's worth for you to look into that, because it gives maybe a lot of inspirational ideas. It's a new concept that it was part of the Green Deal launched by the President of the Commission. And a lot of partners are looking into that, and it's really a generation of ideas, inspiration to work towards sustainability, and it's a combination of so many factors. So look into that, because I think that it can maybe be of inspiration for the modules and for the trainings, because it really is based on the traditional bat house concept from years ago. Thanks, Sarah. And and that really is like putting a lot of minds together as we did this exercise. And it mixes really, architecture with decision